Okay, so today I will be doing my rebuttal for the debate on whether transgender people should be switching their sport, and I am still on the side of transgender people should be able to change their sport. And the three topics I'm going to cover today are the three topics that my partner covered in her first debate of why they shouldn't be allowed to change their sport, and these are transgenders, people, use of hormones, the biology of transgender bodies, and the human wingspan. Okay, so first let's talk about hormones. My partner went into detail about how people are born based on their gender with different hormones regulating through their body, testosterone and estrogen, and how that affects the human body and the muscle mass and everything. But we have to keep in mind that when transgender people transition from one gender to another, they usually start taking the other hormone and start flushing out the hormone they used to have so they can be more like the gender that they are transitioning to. So, in this case, a male who's transgender would start taking estrogen and that would flush out his testosterone, and then their body would be more female like and start slowly but surely. The body from their old gender will wear away and they'll be developing a new body shape for their desired gender. And this is important because it not only changes their body to represent the gender they identify as, but also that that their bodies are changing towards the sport that they would play. So, a person who's transitioned to female would now have a similar body type to a female in the same similar body mass, and these hormones actually don't take that long. I believe it's a few months to start seeing effects, and most transgender people do go this route. And the next thing we're going to be talking about is biology of transgender people. So my partner made a great point that people are born with biology. There are certain differences between male and female, but we have to think about these. Biology is more diverse than just two genders. There are animals in every species that are very different from each other depending on their gender and depending on other factors. And when we look at humans, you can have any body type no matter your gender. You can have any muscle mass, you can have any height, any wingspan, any weight class. And so I think that's important because genetics is based off of your personal DNA between your parents and not your specific gender. Um, so you can't really separate sports based on their gender if you're going to be basing it off of the biology and the genetics because that is not determined by the gender. And so I believe that um, co-ed sports are a great example because um, why is it all of a sudden fair when men are playing together, but a transgender man cannot play with a genetic female in the same sport when there are sports where men and women play versus each other, and it apparently um, their genetics and their biology don't matter, but just because someone's transitioning and playing as a woman, that causes an uproar. And so the last thing I want to talk about is wingspan, which fell into the category of biology, but it was the third point that my partner made. And I would like to argue that wingspan is more based on your height and not on your gender. So a woman who is 6 foot will have a longer wingspan than a man who is like 5'8". And so I think that's very important because that was one of their main targets because we were talking about Leah Thompson and swimming. And I think sports are already based on your genetics, whether you're male or female. And whether you're male or female, that doesn't really make a difference on how good you're going to be at a sport. Also, like I said before, genetics are very variable and it doesn't really depend on your gender. I mean, anyone can be born, there could be two siblings, and one's a female and one's a male, and they could have the same body shape, the same muscle mass index. They just look a little different, but the more important thing is the genetics between your parents that make you a human being, and that's how you end up with the weight and the body type and the height that you have. And for my last point about this whole topic, I think it's really unfair um, how we can choose who we allow to do what and how that's more unfair than the sports system already being in place. So instead of picking and choosing who can do what, the sports system that we have now is already unfair and people already get advantages based off of how they're born, and those are things that people can't really control. Okay, thank you.